Welcome. Thank you for stopping by today on the Black Veteran channel. On this channel, I discuss different things from the military, the world, employment, and sports through the eyes of a black veteran. So take a minute to like or subscribe while we uncover or shine a light on these topics and more from a perspective of a black veteran. Alright, before we get started, I use some of Trevor Jackson podcasts as well as Pink Book lessons to put this together. One of the biggest things I'd like to touch on today is the entertainers aren't leaders. The singers, the rappers, the dancers, the comics, actors, they are paid. And the side that use it the most, especially for our community, is a Democratic side. And that's something that I'm going to show you today. And we're going to look at it, and again, you don't have to just take my word for it. You can look back in history. Ever since Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X, evidence, he spoke about it. It's been out there, and over 60 years later, it's still being ran. The same play is still being ran. We as a community need to look at this and just wise up to it. But without further ado, let's get started.
Well, that statement I just made concerning the Constitution is Article 1, Section 2 in the Constitution, where it classifies us as chattel. Baldwin did point out that Mr. Muhammad has the only grassroots support and is the only one whose the following operates or functions on the mass vehicle. And I think Baldwin told Dr. Kenneth Clark that Martin Luther King is at the end of his rope. Now, concerning the poll taken by Newsweek magazine, I think you said that this was the leaders who said that, who went with King and against Mr. Muhammad around 90%. I just told you a little while ago, these leaders that they call leaders, this included Lena Horne, this included Dick Gregory, and this included comedians, comics, trumpet players, baseball players. Show me in the white community where a comedian is a white leader. Show me in the white community where a singer is a white leader, or a dancer or a trumpet player is a white leader. These aren't leaders. These are puppets and clowns that have been set up over the white community and over the black community by the white community and have been made celebrities and usually say exactly what they know that the white man wants to hear.
For Kamala Harris, I'm just sick of the black people on the internet talking about I'm not with her. Okay, so if you're not with her, that means you with Trump. And y'all need to block every last one of their asses on Facebook and on Instagram and social media and stop. Like, that's
on anything,
yeah. Can't agree on a damn bucket of chicken. One person want a hot dog.
Now you see how disrespectful they are. He can't stand black folks. This is the rhetoric that they are paid to come out and say. This is the stuff that, as a black community, the foundation of black Americans need to push back on and separate themselves from people like this. This is not going to help us. This is not going to help the community. This is, again, because of their rhetoric, is putting us against each other. And we should be united against the ones who is really against us.
Always
Black
complain.
folks get on my damn nerves, man. What you talking about? Kamala Harris talking out of both sides of her.
Would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
Yes, she is. 1 minute she was against the fracking, as you see here. Then she flips and goes for fracking.
How would you say something so disrespectful? Even if you felt that way, I wouldn't dare make a video or say nothing like that to the vice president. We got to get behind people like Ben Crump and Kamala Harris and all these people out here that's doing, like Roland Martin.
Did he just say Roland Martin?
Nigga, you gay.
Yeah, he did. See, look at the people he's naming. Again, do not just take my word for it. Look at the people he's naming and do some real research behind them. Ben Crump. He's only jump out when there's a white killing a black person. But when a black killing black, he's nowhere to be found. When a Democrat's not doing for blacks, he's nowhere to be found. Interesting. And look at that. This is the same Roland Martin that took money from Kamala and gave her a softball interview. And this is a person we supposedly follow. This is the same guy who had their young brother Randall on his podcast. And when Randall was saying, we shouldn't be getting money from the government.
We have to get out and go do for self in our own communities.
So, okay, so define do for self.
When I say do for self, you shared one of my tweets, my videos, and I was actually a big fan of yours, but you shared one of my tweets when I said black people need to stop begging the government and go and do for self out in our communities. You shared the video and called me an idiot. I didn't see anything idiotic about that statement at all.
So when you say do for self, like what? Explain that.
Okay, for example, here in Albany, Georgia, we complain about our school systems a lot. Many of our young men can't read. They have very horrible literacy rates. We don't have any rehab programs here for juvenile offenders. What I decided to do, I started a program 2 years ago, decided to do for self, and I started taking children into my home. I started taking custody of kids from juvenile court, and I started molding them and training them and teaching them skilled trades, etc. Now I'm 21 years old. I just purchased a school here in Albany, Georgia, to combat us being in the government-funded schools that are not teaching our children what they need to learn. So that's what I mean by do for self, simply getting up and going out and do it.
So
I beat the stereotype that I'm young, black, in America, and I can't do anything because somebody's holding me down. Absolutely not.
So a question.
Teenagers went and go ahead. Me and some teenagers went and bought a school, and we just bought a school bus simply from going out and doing work. We decided to go fix our own communities. I'm not expecting anything from no politician. I'm not expecting nothing from Donald Trump, Joe Biden, or nobody. We're gonna go do it for ourselves, and that's what I believe we need to be doing. I can vote, sure, but nothing's gonna change in our community.
So you went.
He was yelling at him, pushing him down, like, how we gonna do it? How we gonna do it? This is the one that he's telling us to follow, that's always wanting to depend on somebody in the government or the Democrats to give him something. So he wants you to follow him instead of Malcolm X, him instead of Farrakhan. Think about that.
These people that's out here, Joy Reid, if you're Harris like that, I don't care what issue you got with black women. Your mama's a black woman.
Okay, I keep stopping it. Your mama's a black woman. I mean, really. So, I guess your mama couldn't be wrong, huh? I wouldn't want my mother to run a country, so that was the dumbest thing I ever heard. And let's not forget, just the reality. Kamala Harris is not, well, you know.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to...
Now this is good. This is right out her mouth again. This is the same person that said that she hasn't changed. She's in the same values. So, that was her words in 2024. Same values, she hasn't changed. What she said here is 2020. So, if you're in the same values, you hasn't changed. So what did that tell you? 4 years later, you think the same way as you did then. This is why I'm so happy this woman was not elected president. Now, with the other guy that's in there and Donald Trump, I could care less. And I say that because the thing is, from what I've seen from him, he didn't lie directly in your face. He said, well, I'm gonna see what I can do. Well, I'm gonna try what I can do. I didn't vote for him before people started asking. I didn't vote for him, and I didn't vote for Kamala Harris. I have third-party candidate I voted for that aligned with my values. But what I'm saying is, she said, this is the words come out of her mouth. It wasn't no spin to it. Let's listen to this. And again, she says she still had the same values. She hasn't changed. That's what she said.
Or reparations for black people.
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination and segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the Lift Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit. But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit black children, black families, black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No, because whatever benefits that black family will benefit that community.
Yeah, and that's why we didn't do nothing that would benefit you. And putting you in the White House would have benefited you. Listen to what she said. She said, she started off with the specifically. That's what she said. But then when it comes to the issues that our community was facing, the Jim Crow, the redlining, the slavery, the bombing of our different communities that we built up. Not everybody dealt with that. It was just the black community. So we was targeted specifically. But when it comes to repairing us, no, let's disrepair everybody. Yeah, that ain't gonna work.
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to...
Okay. You heard that right out of her mouth. She stated that, her value's still the same. So how can you believe that she's going to do something different, or would have done something different, if her values is still the same, and that's not doing nothing for you? Alright, now, I'm just gonna leave it right there.
got a headache trying to stay on course, so just let me go off this paper for a minute. Before y'all start calling my radio show and DMing me, talking about why you ain't asked no hard-hitting questions, that ain't what this is. I'm throwing a lob. This is an alley-oop for a dunk, because this administration needs to get the word out of what they're actually doing and what they're actually accomplishing, so we can stop all this foolishness about what you're doing for black people.
So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit black people. No.
Wait a damn minute. Wait a damn.
Can't nobody come out with no agenda and call it this for black people and expect to get in the White House. You got to play the game different. Y'all know what this is.
Roundtable discussion specifically for Asian American business owners during her visit today. ABC 7 News reporter Suzanne Fawn talked to one owner about what small businesses need right now.
What would you do with the thousands of people who try to reach the United States every day and want a better life through asylum?
Immediately on January 20th of 2021, I will, first of all, we cannot forget our DACA recipients, and so I'm going to start there. I will immediately, by executive action, reinstate DACA status and DACA protection to those young people. I will further extend protection for deferral of deportation for their parents. I will also immediately put in place a meaningful process for reviewing the cases for asylum.
One of the questions that the black community has is Senator Harris.
Now see, the next one's gonna be a clip from Pink Book Lessons. She's gonna go into a little more detail, so here's a clip, and again, a link is below for the entire video.
The Harris administration bragged about the tangible benefits they delivered to Kamala's people. See, she said she wasn't going to do anything specifically for black people, but she's done a lot specifically for her AAPI community. She got her people over $17 billion in government contracts in 2022 and increased that number by $2.7 billion, giving them $20 billion in 2023. This wasn't for everybody. This was special set-asides for Asian American owned businesses. Kamala continued.
Now, did you hear that? Or remember back when they said? Now remember back when they said it can do nothing specifically for black Americans. But you see, she done something specifically by Asian American. And didn't she? And haven't she for all these years identify herself as Asian American? So her people got something. And for this right here, look at what they're doing. Look at what they're doing. With this type of performance, it's pretty much self-hating type performance. This is what they think of you. It's a presidential rally, and they have her up there with those lyrics she's singing or rapping and shaking her butt. That's self-hate. Though who taught you how to hate yourself?
Who taught you to hate your own kind? Who taught you to hate the race that you belong to? So much so that you don't want to be around each other. You know, before you come asking Mr. Muhammad, does he teach hate, you should ask yourself who taught you to hate being what God gave you.
How did one man go from petty criminal to becoming a global voice against racism?
Now this video wasn't about one person. It was about the entire party. Well, the way they see us, the way they see our community. Now let this be a lesson that entertainers are not our leaders.
Thank you for stopping by and rocking with me. If you like what you heard, take the time to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, it's free. If you want a subject discussed, and grow this channel by leaving a comment below. Check you out on the next video. Stay vigilant.
Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Dr. Anderson too. They fought for justice and rights were overdue. In the black community, we seen our share of pain, but through it all, we rise up and reclaim. Rise up, black community, let your voice be heard. Together we'll stand. Hold on to every word. We've been knocked down, but we won't stay defeated.